Hello and welcome to iLEAD Kolkata. This is Archan Chakraborty and today we have with us a very special guest, Poorna Banerjee. Hi Poorna Di.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being here. Being a travel enthusiast, I would love to ask from your traveling sector of work that we as an individual always want to go for solo trips. So what are the few things that we always should keep in mind before packing for the solo trip, or some tips and tricks that we can do to have a great solo trip?
Okay. First of all, I'll tell you one thing, that a lot of my friends would never want to go on a solo trip because for them traveling is like a community experience. For me, that matter is different. I like going on solo trips. And what I have understood is that in a solo trip, there are a very big positives, there are very big negatives as well. The very big positive thing that you have is that you are your own master or mistress. You want to do whatever you want to do and you can choose which path you take. So in the morning, if you just decide that today I'm not going to go outside and I'm going to stay in my hotel and I'll just lie on the pool side and nobody is going to notice, that's your choice, right? At the same time, if you say I'm going to be super active, I'm going to be doing this, doing that, that's also your choice. So choices are a great factor there. The second thing a solo tripper should actually feel happy about is the fact that in a solo trip you also can do it as per your own budget. Since you are not sharing a room, generally what happens is when we share a room, our expenses are reduced.
Right.
But if you're a solo tripper, you can always go and stay in hostels.
Exactly, backpacking hostels.
So someone like me, I prefer going and staying in a large hotel room where I am absolutely alone and I have everything to my disposal. Okay, and I don't have to worry about the clothes are on the floor and what my roommate will think. Right. That's something that I don't want to worry about. Also, if you're in a hostel, if you're a solo traveler, generally you will see that people are very enthusiastic about talking to them. So my entire, I remember my entire trip in Vietnam was about kindness of others, because what happened was, the moment I started walking out and I was alone and I was in Hanoi and I did not know the language much. So I just knew how to say yes and no, that's about it. So I started walking and there were people who were actually trying to ask me if I was alone, and when I said yes, so they would be like, would you like to sit for a cup of coffee, or would you like to have something to eat with us? Like, we don't want you to be alone here. And when I was saying no, I'm fine, they took it upon themselves to kind of help me and do
That was
things.
really kind.
It was very kind. And being a solo traveler, I've seen that people are generally very kind towards female solo travelers. And it's also because we are also, like, I think, a newer breed. A lot of people, they don't go out and they don't do all these things, but we do. But at the same time, there are some negatives as well. Number one being that you will have to be in charge of everything.
Exactly.
So in case something goes wrong, and it can go wrong so many ways, then it's up to you. So
You have to be very careful.
yeah, like, I have missed my flight in Delhi airport. I mean, I have literally seen the boarding gates, the doors, the check-ins shut in front of me. And I remember begging and pleading to them that I need to get up on this flight, because otherwise I'll have to get up on a flight tomorrow or day after, and tomorrow's flight might not be full. If it is full, then I won't be able to go. And they have been like, no, you can't help it. No, we can't help it. I'm sorry. So that has happened. Then I have had stolen stuff. People have stolen things from my bag in a hostel somewhere in, I think it was in Benares. So people just took some stuff from my bag. Thankfully, I was very careful about my money, so I always carry my money on my person. But you always can't carry everything, every valuable that you have, right? So that's difficult. So you'll have to be in charge, you'll have to be careful, and you'll also have to be smart. I mean, if you are going on a solo trip and let's say you're going out drinking with a bunch of people you've just met, high chances that next morning your credit card is maxed out.
Yeah.
You have spent money or done something and then gone. But it might not always be act of thievery or anything. It might be voluntary. because you're alone and you are like, okay, I'm carefree, I will spend. So you can do that. So those are things that you can look out for. Also, what I do is I have like a little traveling kit. So I'm a very light traveler. So I have a traveling kit which I use, and it contains the essentials which I need for my everyday use, which includes a safety pin, bobby pin. I know it sounds weird, right?
But
it's very
it is of help.
So then nail filer,
Right.
then a small comb, then band-aid, things like that, because you never know when you need them. And yes, very importantly, a toothpick, because trust me, toothpicks come in handy in a lot of ways. And if you are a swimmer, then earbuds, because you will require those earbuds after you've come out of a swim, and you really need to get the water out of your ear, so it's difficult. So those are things that I do, and I think the trend of solo traveling is growing nowadays.
Right.
People are actually exploring things on their own, not depending on a partner, and I think that's a good thing for us in general, because as a society we need to kind of stand up on our own 2 feet. This is a great example of how we can do that.
So as you said that in case of a solo traveling, in case of a solo travel, it is always that we travel solo, but we are never alone, and there are parts of it as well as the negatives of it. Yes. Yeah, and it can help you sometime, and sometime it can shatter you.
It can do so many good and bad things. So it's also very enlightening,
Yeah.
If you look
But
at
it is one of an experience.
See, I'll give you an example. When I was studying, there is this write-up by Francis Bacon, which is talking about travels, and he said something which was very valuable. So roughly paraphrasing it, so it means that travel makes you wiser as a person, and it also makes you more practical as a person. So when you meet and when you take care of yourself, when you meet new people, when you see new things, it also expands your horizons mentally. So you kind of understand what those people are eating, what they are doing, etc. Of course, a lot of people who travel for travel's sake, as in they don't always indulge in every aspect of it. They just go out, they will look at the sites, but they will look. I have met people who will look for a like Indian restaurant rather.
Yeah, that is a tick mark travel group. Yeah.
Which is sad, because that means that you're not fully experiencing the thing. So everything that I do when I go and travel, my focus is on travel and food. So I can explain to people what new thing that you can eat. Like a lot of people don't eat certain things because they don't know what is going in there.
True.
So I have had friends who are vegetarian but extremely interested in, let's say, cuisines of certain countries, and because they don't know what is going in there, they can't eat it, and it's difficult for a person who is not speaking English to explain what is going in there. So for them, what I do is I simplify the matter. I write down places which are friendly towards different kinds of cuisines, what you can eat, what are the highlights, what you can look for, how to get better deals, etc. So that kind of helps them formulate a plan. So I am not going to say you strictly follow my plan, it's my way or the highway. No, because in travel there are no plans. But what I would say is just make a rough understanding of how you can work towards it. And these are the options that you have. So what I do is I open up options. And trust me about this, the Leaning Tower of Pisa gets really boring if there is not a good pizza around. Trust me. People, at least
True,
at
indeed.
least Bengalis like me, we like eating.
Yeah, we are foodie and we accept it.
And once we go outside eating the same Bengali or Indian food, I personally find it to be a bit of a hate crime. So, so I can't help it. That's just how I am. But that's also why I do certain things, right? Anyway.
Poorna, as we all know, that traveling is an expensive affair. Being an influencer, how it helps, how to get sponsorships or get the cost reduced.
Okay, so I have never really thought about getting the cost reduced, because when I'm traveling on my own, I generally do not ask for sponsorship or anything. If somebody wants to sponsor me and gets in touch with me, that's a different thing. But I can proudly say that so far I have never really approached anyone and said that I'm traveling to this place and it will be great if you can reduce the costing. But as a food writer, as a travel blogger, what I have always faced is there are a lot of brands who want to call you. So if you can align your traveling dates around that, then in that case the costing goes down, right? That's one. The second thing that you're looking at sponsorships, etc. You have to be smart, because there are n number of sponsors available as well as n number of influencers, and you don't know who is going to be suited to what. So do a very good amount of research first. Once you have to do is, you have to understand where they are lacking and where you can help. So for example, let's say if you have a space which is really great, but you realize that they haven't done much about their, let's say, food. So what you do is you go and you pitch to them that, you know, I would really like to do something which will be like a trip, but it will be based on food, where I want to do something with food, and that's how I want to promote it. That's one. Or let's say if you are traveling to a place which you are going to go on a hike. Let's say you're going on a hike, so you can approach an apparel brand which is specializing in hiking gear and etc. And you tell them that I'll post on my social media, I'll write on my blog about the quality of your product, giving you a clear review of what it is and how it can be used in different purposes. So that actually helps people, because that's a natural way of going about it. Today, what I have found is that a lot of influencers do not understand what to influence and how to influence. That's very important. And people don't understand the background of it. They just understand one part, and that is if I post a photo on Instagram, I'm an influencer. It doesn't work like that. Exactly, if you're looking at the entire situation, you'll have to be very specific about what you want and how you want it, and you need to have a clear vision, and the clearer your vision is, the better it is for you to be able to influence, because that way you will be able to kind of focus exactly what you are looking to do, and then you can involve a brand. Mostly I have realized brands are smart enough to discern between who actually has a vision and who doesn't,
and they will seek for it.
and followers actually don't matter. I have seen brands reject followers with 5-6 lakh following and go for someone who has 20-30,000, because that person who has 20-30,000 has a better vision, a better idea, and a better set of deliverables than the one who has 5-6 lakh.
Right. I just saw a post of yours on Facebook, as you said right now. People who have recently woken up to the facts need not go live all the time.
Yes.
Hashtag influencers and their drama.
Yes.
Please elaborate the.
This means you have been stalking my Facebook profile. Great.
And also Instagram.
Yeah. So people, this was actually a very funny thing. There was an influencer. There are people in the influencer industry who always diss it, and it's very easy to diss our work. But it's not easy to sustain it for decades. So I have been doing this for 10 years now, and that's a long time. 10 years is a long time, and what I have always understood is that if I don't like anything, I would rather not open my mouth and say something negative about it. I would rather give a private feedback to a brand rather than going out and talking about how bad this is, how terrible that is, because it doesn't help anyone to spread the negativity.
Right.
But
True.
Right feedback, correct feedback can nip it in the bud. So this particular comment was about a person who is extremely negative in his or her way of speaking about influencers, about how going live, doing things online, this, that, how horrible they are, how they are seeking attention, etc. But a few days ago I saw this person do this while he himself went live.
Right.
Which was very funny. So you are actually doing something which is so terribly meta that is kind of interesting.
And it is very self-contradictory.
It is very self-contradictory. Think about it. So a person who has gone live to diss about people who are going live. So I looked at it and I was like, influencers and their drama, I can't help it. But again, these things are little triggers. It's also not just one incident. I have faced many incidents like this. So, when I write about topics which are slightly controversial on my blog, or when I write about things on social media, Facebook, which are slightly difficult for people to digest, I get a lot of feedback, and that feedback is not always what I like to hear. It's not always, but it's okay. I'm okay with feedback. What I'm not okay with are people saying something about my personal life, about my family, because of my food choices. That's difficult.
This is the problem with social media, which I feel that we are blessed with a lot of opportunities,
Yeah.
and we target people very easily.
Yes.
And this is where we are going wrong, I guess.
Absolutely. So a few days ago, there was a girl who tried to kill herself on social media. Like, she started posting photos of her cutting her hand, then her taking sleeping pills, and then rat poison, etc. Now, when she had cut her hand, then my activist friends had texted me saying, okay, this girl is doing something, what do we do? So I immediately said that, you know what, don't look at her, look at her family. Does she have a mother, husband, sister, anyone on Facebook or Instagram through which you can contact, because you don't have this girl's number. So then we found her sister, and then her sister was called up. So now this girl, when she has started taking the rat poison, etc., this was the point her sister came in and gave her my favorite thing to do, 2 tight slaps, and yeah, and then made her vomit so that she could expel the stuff that she had ingested. But what I hated was the way people were reacting. I mean, she had accused certain people of doing some things, but these people who started coming and talking about how you should not be committing suicide, you are a coward, you are this, you are that. What they don't understand is that a person who is going to commit suicide is already on the edge, and it takes very little for you to kind of push them from that edge. And these kind of comments of what will your mother think, what will your family think, these don't pull you back. This would rather push you further. So I understand you're doing social media drama because you are looking for attention, etc. But if you are given that kind of attention, you might be driven out of that edge. Exactly. Right? So this is something we need to understand. Social media drama is a real thing, and it is something that people do not understand how badly it affects who are actually in it.
Facing that. Yeah,
so like, I deliberately keep my social media completely devoid of what I'm doing in my family life, right. When I'm having fun with my friends or going out. I might post maybe 1 or 2 photos of my meetings with my friends, maybe in a week or even sometimes in a month. Exactly. And that's done deliberately because I do not want people to find out what am I doing in real life. I would rather let them be in suspense.
Right. And the thing is, as you have said that you have started this influencing thing almost 10 years back.
Yes.
And so how did you get into it? Because back then it was not this popular.
Yeah, I didn't know I was an influencer for a very long time. I just knew I write about food. And I always wanted to write about food and, then write about traveling, write about what to eat, what not to do, where to go. I wanted to write about it. So I wrote about it. So in 2016, they called me an influencer. So I said, look, oh.
Who called you an influencer?
Some brand wanted to give me an award for excellence in blogging and influencership. And I said, oh, so now I am an influencer. Cool. And it was like that moment when I was like, cool. That's interesting. That's cool. And that's what happened. So you don't really know if you are one. So now I actually put the word influencer on my Instagram profile because that's easy. That's an easy way to get,
But people will understand. Oh, sorry.
You have to understand. You see, it's very practical. This is my bread and butter, right? Exactly. So you can't really always be that impractical person. But the way you can stay authentic is by, putting your disclaimers in the right places. When you tell people, I was invited to this place, or I was, when I am going and reviewing something, I am very clear about, with the brand actually, I am very clear about the fact that I am going to take this product, I am going to review it. If it is not good, I would prefer not writing about it. Because if I am presented by P was always a recommendation site, a site where I could give people a recommendation. Like, I don't want to keep any negative posts on my blog because I do not want that negativity. I want people to have, a good positive thing for my blog.
When people are visiting a site presented by P, they will look for the 2 do's and not the don'ts.
I would prefer doing the 2 do's and rather, not disclose the don'ts, because the don'ts you can find out very easily.
Exactly.
Why do I want to, diss a place just because I can? I don't want to. I would rather want to recommend a place because it started by recommending my own city. It started by recommending the recipes I like. So I don't want to recommend something that I don't like. So the brands are very clear about it. If I like something, it goes online with a disclaimer that this was sent to me by the brand, but my opinions, even the brand knows this, are 100% genuine and exactly what I think. So when I am writing, if I find something which is not that great, I also write that, but I also highlight the fact that the pros are out.
These are the things that I liked,
The
and that's why
pros
I'm
are
writing.
kind of outnumbering the cons. So that's a good thing. That's very important for me.
Finding which is not good is very common, and finding good is rare these days.
Finding which is not good is becoming a habit. So I am in the restaurant industry, right? There are people who go every day to different restaurants, complain to the manager or owner, find fake bugs in their food and get the meals for free. I know of influencers like that. That's the best one.
Back in 2008 or 9 when you started, you know that you know that by writing it can be a different profession and all.
So I knew bloggers were there outside of India, right?
Yeah.
I used to follow this one really amazing blogger, which I still do, and her name is Not Quite Nigella, and she used to write from Melbourne, and her name is Lorraine. And I used to really like her blog, and I used to really like Chrissy Teigen's blog, because Chrissy Teigen, after she gave up modeling, she became a blogger, and I used to like the works of Reed Drummond. They were great writers, and when I was writing, I never have put up a recipe. I have not wanted to do that kind of a recipe blog, because for me food is more of an experience that you kind of have to kind of go by the feel of it. Okay, I mean, if you see the recipe, there are 50 people who will be doing the same recipe, following the same set of instruction, but the taste won't be the same. So since food is an experience for everyone from cooking to eating, you will have to somehow incorporate those things within you as well. The good news is that I have realized my taste buds are extremely chalu, which means popular, which basically gives me the capacity to evaluate things in a more neutral and crowd pleasing manner, that I think is helpful.
Exactly, and at the same time, you're not only posting about food, you are not only posting about your traveling experiences, you're also posting about your, and you openly say that you are also a lifestyle blogger.
Yes, I am.
So you are influencing the audience, your audience, in a lot of ways.
Yes.
So whenever they search for presented by P, they are getting a different experience.
Yes, and that's what I wanted to do from day one. I wanted to have a blog which would cater to people like me, who like finding a one-stop shop for a lot of different things. And it's something like this. I do not claim to be an expert, because I am not. But what I claim to be is someone who's practical.
Right.
And from a practical point of view, if you want to review something, then there are very simple parameters that you can work with. And that's how easy it is. You have to be practical about it. You have to find the gap. You look at the search engine results and think, where am I seeing a gap? Where is the lack of knowledge?
Right.
And that's where you start filling those in. I still do. I still fill in the gaps. So that was what I used to be very good at when I was a kid. You know, I used to be very good at filling the gaps. So and that's what I do now as well.
I'm really enjoying this conversation now. And to end up with, what are the things that the budding influencers should know, or the tips that you would love to give them, so that they can be of some help to the audience, or they can actually influence, because there is a term going on that influencers or influencers.
So first, yeah, of course. So the first thing that I have understood is that you cannot call yourself an influencer.
Right.
People need to know, people need to acknowledge that. So today it's very easy to buy followers and make your profile feel great. I mean, I have actually worked with brands who have told me, मैडम जी आपका इतना कम फॉलोइंग है, आपका जितना रीच है उसमें तो 100-200 हज़ार आ जाते हैं. This is how they have spoken. And I was, at first I used to think that should I just give in and buy a few. Then I told myself that if you do that, you're not going to be true to your audience.
Exactly.
You're not going to be true to your audience, you're not going to be true to people who are following you. Because they will think she is way more than what she is, which I never want to be. I've always wanted to be seen as someone who's your friendly neighborhood, friend who can help you out.
Right.
Not someone intimidating, not someone who's like Spider-Man. Let's say,
Hmm.
So you want to be, let's say, you want to be, to put the Marvel universe in controversy. I don't want to be Iron Man. I prefer being, I prefer being, let's say, Green. What was he? Green Lantern. Yeah, I would prefer being Green Lantern. Yeah, I'm the one who gives like light low,
Yeah.
yellow, dekh so I know, it's funny. but
It is
that's the
more of
thing.
like the what can I do?
Yeah,
You're
you
not doing
can.
the
I mean, I don't want to want people to feel that this is something to be intimidated about,
Yeah.
because it's not. I mean, a lot of people talk about things which are very, difficult to understand,
Right.
because the way they use their language. So, when I was studying, I studied English, and I really like linguistics. So if I want, I can be a Shashi Tharoor. I have zero problem doing that. I can be extremely prosaic, extremely Ciceroistic in my way of speaking. But I don't want to do that. I don't want to frighten away my crowd.
Exactly, I would
who
not
would
understand. I
exactly
wouldn't have been
if
able
today
to take
somebody
the
says that
interview.
if somebody says that perambulating across the meadow, I've came across a fanciful unicorn. I mean, we were like, what was I doing? Like,
Writing.
so the reality is that basically that just means that when I was walking down the field, I saw that there was a unicorn. That was how easy it is. So, but you have to understand it feels really scary for a lot of people to follow food writing, because often food writers become way too melodramatic and start giving such weird,
Flowery.
flowery or artful weird references which people don't get. So if you are not globally traveled, let's say, you are like a normal person, how are you going to associate with what I ate in, let's say, Italy?
Right.
You won't be able to, because for you it is difficult to associate Italian food with, let's say, what you're eating here.
Exactly.
But
Like the
if
Chinese we are having in
but if I explain to you that this is how it is like, and this is how you can connect it with what you are here eating here, this is what tastes you can expect, then you can actually be the person who can choose that, does this sound nice?
yeah,
This sounds nice, okay, I can see. Does this look nice? Okay, this looks nice, I can eat this.
bridges the gap.
So this is where I'm going. You cannot make food writing difficult, because the more difficult you make, the more you put your audience away. Nigella Lawson a long time ago said something very cool. Said people who knows how to cook should also learn how to eat, because eating is an art, and people often ignore that. We ignore that eating part is an art, and what we also ignore is the fact that there are so many people around the planet who are probably more knowledgeable than you are about certain things, more interested in certain things, more understanding about certain things. But what we do is we tend to tell people, okay, this is how it is. So I sort of hate the entire taken for granted scene of influencers. I mean, I have seen people go to a restaurant and creating a massive tantrum and then saying, आपको पता है मैं कौन हूँ, मैं ये इन्फ्लुएंसर हूँ, मेरे पास 20-30 whatever हज़ार फॉलोइंग है, मैं एक पोस्ट कर दूंगी और आपका रेस्टोरेंट बंद हो जाएगा. I've seen people do that. I've seen influencers blackmail restaurants into saying that if you don't give me 10K, I'm going to write 10 negative Zomato reviews about you. That is how bad it is. And there are
That is
food groups
hooliganism, nothing.
that there are food groups which promote this. There are food groups which deliberately promote negative reviews, and those negative reviews are then screenshotted and sent to the owners of these restaurants with threat mails, which goes like, अगर आपको लगता है कि हम ये कर सकते हैं, इससे भी खराब कर सकते हैं. And that's how bad it can be. That scene is something that I've seen. That's why also the reason why at one point of time I would not call myself a food blogger, because I was ashamed of that.
Right.
But then you kind of come into your own. You kind of acknowledge the fact that scum is everywhere. You have to also
Exactly.
move through the dross to find the goat, right? So that's how it is.
I think we all came to know what we should do as an influencer and what, and most importantly, what we should not. So thank you, Poorna, for being with us. It was a lovely session. I enjoyed a lot, and I hope we enjoyed this conversation.
Yes,
Thank you
absolutely.
so much.
Thank you so much.
Stay tuned with iLEAD TV, and please do subscribe the channel. Thank you.